Ash cloud. Not ass cloud. Ash. Shh. Hello, darlings! Welcome to my 100 subscribers plus episode. There's like 116 of you now, but better late than never, right? In this video, I will be marking the occasion in two separate ways. First of all, I am tributing one of my longer-lived subscribers, that is Retro Game Players. If you're a fan of retro video games or retro video gaming systems, you may want to go check out Marcus's channel, maybe subscribe while you're there. The link for that is in the description below. And by all means, while you're at it, please subscribe to this channel because I happen to know that a majority of you watching are not subscribed. Let's fix that, shall we? Secondly, in honor of triple-digit subscribers, I dug out a film that is titled appropriately for such an occasion. 100 Degrees Below Zero. A degree for each of you. Although, some of you may have to share that, sorry. 100 Degrees Below Zero is one of those rare gems of an Asylum film that is not a direct mockbuster of another film. Look at you, Asylum, breaking out on your own. Let's see what you got. Is the hat making me talk like that? What's going on? So the opening sequence tells us that there have been multiple earthquakes, and for some reason that means there is now a huge ash cloud spreading over the continent. Of Europe, that is. I know, America. They actually make movies that take place in other continents besides ours. If this is going to be a problem, just go ahead and move on to another review. Might I suggest Evil Behind You? That movie was pretty xenophobic.
There is no God but Allah.
You do know that Allah and the Christian God are actually based on the same God, right? A German woman has just given preliminary calculations of something to a German Batman.
It's exactly as we predicted.
You really think this is it?
If the data holds to the model, I think it is.
This isn't another Rapture movie, is it? Apparently, the ash cloud is going to collide with a major storm system, and Gimli is concerned. Meanwhile...
What was all that about an ash cloud?
Not much, I hope.
Why are they having you reduce altitude?
Were you not paying attention to what they just said about an ash cloud? Really gotta pronounce that word, otherwise it sounds like I'm saying ass cloud over and over again. Ash cloud. Ash cloud. Ash cloud. Not ass cloud. Ash. Shh. Now Batman is telling the conference call, which is, by the way, with a bunch of Americans, I'll point out. He tells them that this may trigger a series of volcanic eruptions along the fault line. Wait, I thought that would have already happened, hence the fantastically sized ash cloud. Not ass cloud. Shh. Do earthquakes cause ash clouds normally? By the way, the couple shown here are newlyweds Steve and Lacey Foster. They are flying to Paris to introduce Lacey to Steve's adult children, Ryan and Taryn. However, Steve and Lacey are being grounded less than an hour outside of Paris. I know they theoretically need to spell it out even with the Eiffel Tower right there, but do they really need to spell it out with the Eiffel Tower right there? This is when we are first introduced to the stellar acting performances of Ryan and Taryn. Like every other movie and TV family, the son is a good son and wants to meet his dad's new wife, while the daughter's just being a bitch about it. Oh, but don't worry, the son still has personality, of course. See how he just flirts with random girls? They chat about the ash cloud, maybe being the end of the world, while walking through the square as slowly as humanly possible. These are the people I am always stuck behind on the sidewalk. As soon as technology advances enough, I am so proposing multi-layered sidewalks. Meanwhile, it kind of looks like this guy has a hole in the bottom of his boat and is having really bad gas. Nope, he's just a victim of cheap CGI. What was even supposed to have happened right there? Was he fishing on top of a volcano? More CGI volcanic eruptions occur, and now it's dropping the overall temperature of Europe. With all this imminent danger, why am I still bored? Batman explains to Gimli on the phone that, because of the tectonic shift under Iceland in the mid-Atlantic rift and the fault line stemming from it, it caused the chain reaction of volcanic eruptions, and that is releasing so much magma and ash into the air that this ash cloud will make temperatures over 80% of Europe drop drastically. And because it's running into a storm system, this means there will be precipitation and something to do with the chemicals in the ash cloud making glaciers melt, and somehow that is making it even colder. Because of the size of the cloud or some other reason, this cloud is going to last for years. Basically, through an insane number of circumstances, Europe's heading for an ice age. Oh, and the melting glaciers are also causing coastal flooding. And then the sudden surge of people running for their lives will cause fires, and that chaos will make the wildlife go insane and attack the trees, which will make the oxygen deplete from the world. Don't even get me started on the nuclear warheads firing spontaneously thanks to the rabies-infested rats. Steve and Lacey tell Ryan and Taryn that they had to land in London and are trying to figure out how to get to Paris. That's when the big ice chunks start falling all over the streets of Paris. Oh, for God's sake. By the way, this is the first of many pratfalls that will be attempted by our protagonists in this film. What? Wait, I think I know where this is going. A sliver of ice will get embedded in her foot, and it'll get infected because of all the pigeon poo she has to walk through, because the pigeons have the shit scared out of them because of the ice chunks. Naturally, that means the cannibals will have to eat her foot off.
Listen, I love you, and I know you're a good man.
I'm sorry, sweetheart. Could you pretend to mean it during this next take?
16 inches of ash will cover Europe? The sun will be blocked out by this cloud for 2 years? Earthquakes, aftershocks, temperatures will fall below zero and remain there, and snow will continue to fall more or less continuously for the next 22 months.
Don't forget about the attacking aliens!
My God, man, this is an unimaginable catastrophe.
Yeah, probably why we're all having problems sympathizing right now.
Ryan, what did you do? You're such a klutz.
Wait, she felt the earthquake and then forgot? This girl has the memory of a goldfish. Oh, by the way, now they're talking about earthquake aftershocks, and these aftershocks are insane. Taryn falls down. Ryan Pratt falls again and knocks himself out. Some French guy tries to basically kidnap Taryn.
Oh, asshole. Ryan!
Okay, new rule. Logic hasn't been invented yet in this universe. They decide to head for the American embassy instead of their apartment for whatever reason. Taryn falls down again, she gets up, and they run away from the green screen. Steve decides to call Gimli, because apparently they know each other. Again, logic, not a thing. Gimli tells Steve he will help Steve get a reservation on the train once they get through the Eurotunnel.
The cold is going to get colder, and the snow is going to get deeper.
Tell me there's a way out of this, Colonel.
Yeah, it's called Kenya. Gimli promises that if Steve and the kids can get to Avro Air Base in 10 hours, he can get on one of the evacuation flights to Australia, at which point Steve says they will be even.
What exactly did you do for him?
Nothing he wouldn't have done for me.
The American embassy appears to be abandoned. One random guy in the embassy tells them that they need to leave the building because it will probably collapse around them. Of course, there's another aftershock, and this leads to them falling down a hole into a locked room. Of course. They tried to build tension by this whole save yourself, I'm not leaving you bit, but honestly, who cares? Stay down there and rot, both of you. Ryan boosts Taryn out of the hole, and as Taryn looks for a way to get Ryan out, he tries standing on a broken office chair with wheels so he can have an excuse to pratfall again. Are we sure this isn't Chris Pratt fall? Sorry. Taryn finds a fire hose and Ryan is able to climb out. When he tries to do the same up the elevator cables, he electrocutes himself. Taryn finds a defibrillator and the guy is still in the building? Why?
No. The trimmer hit and I got hit on the head and got knocked out. You're screaming, woke me up. Come on, can you walk?
Oh, I'm glad you saw your own plot hole and patched it up, script. They decide to head for the Red Cross station set up at the Louvre. As they stumble along...
We need a place we can find you. What do you see around you? What's nearby? Nothing. It's all gone.
Okay, if it's all gone, what the hell are those buildings behind you? Just pick one of those.
What are they asking?
They need a place to meet us? The embassy?
If only there was, oh, I don't know, like a big famous tower or something.
The tower.
See, that's why you're the older brother.
Oh, shut up, Niles.
Steve tries to get into the Eurotunnel, but he's told no, so he busts through when the authorities aren't looking. Because there wouldn't be a possible reason they would close a 31-mile-long tunnel that's underground when there are earthquakes and other catastrophic events going on, would there? Guys, there's a dead guy. Right there. Guys? Guys! How unobservant do you have to be to not notice a dead body on an otherwise empty street in broad daylight? Now Ryan decides that he and Taryn have to hide from the army rounding up survivors for evacuation so they can still meet Lacey and Steve at the tower. Priorities. You know your phone currently works. Why don't you call them and tell them that, hey, we're being evacuated. Don't make the treacherous journey here for nothing. No? Okay. Taryn notices that they are near the Furrier district and they can get coats there. Strangely enough, the owner is not keen on the idea of being robbed. They offer to pay for the coats and he wants to charge them 20,000 euros each.
20,000 euros? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, who's robbing who here?
Okay, he's being kind of a dick, but he's perfectly in his right to do that. I mean, supply and demand, right? Of course, a convenient aftershock knocks the guy down, but of course, Taryn is trapped under a fallen shelving unit. Ryan can't lift it by himself, so he goes to the street to get help. Of course, he runs into the girl he was checking out at the beginning of the film. How small is Paris? She runs away from the man dressed as a pimp trying to coax her into a collapsing basement. Can't imagine why. Ryan gets a metal pipe to use as a fulcrum and they run outside. Just before another aftershock. They stroll down the street and talk about how urgent all of this is. Wait. Batman is concerned about the figures and the possibility of something called an ice cyclone, even though no one has ever heard of such a thing before. This is the movie's way of saying, we ran out of natural disasters, so we're just gonna make a couple up. Oh look, the Eurotunnel is collapsing behind them. Who'da thunk?
Just go! Just go!
No, let's stop and take some selfies with the incoming English channel. This is so gonna trend on Instagram. Good thing their car is randomly equipped with a roll cage. Apparently, the train Steve and Lacey were supposed to be on crashed or something. Gimli is bummed because now he thinks Steve is dead. He orders pictures of Steve's kids to be sent out so they can make sure that they get rescued in Paris. If you find people in Paris and they're not Ryan and Taryn, screw them. On the off chance that Steve did not die, Gimli tries calling him. When Lacey answers, he begins shouting at her about how Paris is unsafe and they will find Steve's kids and bring them to the helicopter to Australia. Of course, the reception is crappy, so they don't understand him, so they continue on towards Paris. The soldiers in Paris try to force Ryan and Taryn to come with them. The soldier sees that Ryan and Taryn are on the list, but doesn't bother to tell them that he is looking specifically for them, which probably would have cleared things up completely, and no. And once again, there's Pretty French Girl. Convenient. Steve and Lacey's tiny car crashes because of the high winds, so now they have to walk. Pro tip, if you ever want to make it look like it's windy in your shot, just move the camera around rhythmically. Of course, the van that captured Ryan and Taryn crashes and is leaking fuel over a down power line. So Ryan has to get all the survivors out and do another pratfall. Steve and Lacey find the base where they are getting the helicopter, and of course they both fall down the hill, and naturally hilarity ensues. The guy meeting them with the copter tries to open the bay doors while Steve starts the helicopter, and of course random guy is killed by a falling icicle. Oh my god. Ryan, Taryn, and French girl steal bicycles and head into a tunnel towards the Eiffel Tower. Oh, for fuck's sake, at what point do you just give up and die because you're clearly cursed? The muggers take the bikes and their coats. Ryan gets hit and clearly does another pratfall, but they decide that this one is not necessary to show.
Not another earthquake!
Oh, this is getting old.
God, yes it is.
I don't know.
The water's freezing. It's causing the pipes to burst.
The human beings seem to be doing very well for it being that cold. Now, why are they going into the tower? Wouldn't it make more sense for them to stay on the ground in an area where they can at least hover, if not land, a helicopter? If you're in a tower and you're trying to get on a helicopter, that gets complicated for the helicopter, which is kind of crashing anyway because reasons. But he saves it at the last minute. That was suspenseful. After an argument attempting to give character development, the trio decides that the top of the tower is the best place to try to get the helicopter. Naturally, Steve and Lacey have a hard time finding them, and then there's a funnel cloud of some sort coming towards them. I can't decide if I've been tense for so long that I'm numb now or if I wasn't really feeling it in the first place. Pretty sure I was never feeling it. While they wait for the helicopter to get them, Taryn confesses to Ryan that she quit school. Apparently she was in school, but she isn't anymore, so it doesn't matter. Steve drops a cable and Lacey swings it to them. Meanwhile, of course, the tower is collapsing. Ryan hooks the cable to the tower, they find some pipes, the helicopter lowers, and they all slide onto the helicopter. Oh, I forgot, logic doesn't exist in this universe. Why do I keep trying? As the cyclone approaches and the tower collapses, they clip the cable and fly away just in the nick of time again. Who knew near-death situations could become so mundane? Gimli and everyone else are waiting for Steve's helicopter, which eventually arrives on fire, and it crashes in front of the plane just before it was about to leave without them. And they survive. And they all get on the plane and fly to Australia as Europe basically falls to shit. The end. Yeah, the long and the short of it is nobody really liked this film, and that's why it's in the dumpster. I know I usually take longer to say the same thing ultimately in all the other reviews, but sometimes there's no reason to expound on why something is hated. When you set out to make a disaster film and the most thrilling part of it is your cover art, that's not a disaster film so much as a disaster of a film. The title is 100 Degrees Below Zero, the one thing that doesn't happen in the film. Nobody freezes to death, they just kind of wander around from every other weather phenomenon and talk about it being kind of cold once in a while. Yeah, maybe if they had called this All Weather in a Day, it would have made more sense. I mean, it's the asylum, they might as well have done it. They rip off movies all the time. Why not go into a Ray Bradbury short story too? Or they could have called it The Tribulation without all the religious parts. Or God Pissing All Over Europe. Maybe they just shouldn't have made it at all. That's probably the better idea. This hat and the hair makes me look like an 80s trucker.